Cauleen? Yeah. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So nice that you all are here. Thank you for selecting this is your Friday night event.
Thank you.
I'm really happy to be here. My name's Yvonne Welvin, and I'm the founder and CEO of Sisters in Cinema. And I'm going to take a moment and introduce Cauleen. I'm going to give a little bit about her. I shouldn't do it. All right, all right. Y'all already know who she is? Y'all want a little bio or no? A teeny bit? Okay, so I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to start off asking a few questions. And then I'm going to open it up so that you guys can ask some questions. How about that? Good? Good plan? All right, here's my bio. All right. Cauleen Smith is an interdisciplinary artist whose work reflects upon the everyday possibilities of the imagination, which we saw in this film. Operating in multiple materials and arenas, Smith's roots her work firmly within the discourse of mid-20th century experimental film. Drawing from structuralism, third world cinema, and science fiction, she makes things that deploy the tactics of these disciplines while offering a phenomenological experience for spectators and participants. Her films, objects, and installations have been featured in group exhibitions. She's had solo shows for her films and installations at the Kitchen, MCA, Three Walls, Chicago, and she has shown her drawings in 2D works with Corbett versus Dempsey. Also at the Art Institute of Chicago. She's in the museum, you guys. Yeah, it's really amazing. Smith has received a lot of awards. The main one that relates to this film is the Rockefeller. I remember when you got there, you're like, I got so much money, I'm gonna make a movie. Woo! It was $35,000. But it seemed like it was a lot of money then.
Yeah.
It was a lot of money.
It's a lot of money now.
Okay, right? Oh, yeah, perspective. Thank you. Yeah, keep it real. More recently, Cauleen has received a Guggenheim, a Rauschenberg residency, and a Heinz Award, which is a big prize. How big is it?
Come on.
Oh, okay. She won't. Okay, it's a lot. Okay, I'm not even gonna say the amount. It's just a lot. I really just want to mention it because I think it's really important for us to know that we can be like experimental artists, work in a whole bunch of ranges of fields, and be rewarded for being ourselves and being true to our work. So, okay, the last thing you need to know is that Smith was born in Riverside, California, grew up in Sacramento, earned a BA in Creative Arts from San Francisco State, and an MFA from UCLA, which is where you work now.
It is.
Wow.
But in the art school, not the film school.
Okay. All right. So let's start with the Q&A. Okay, obviously, this is a restoration. I know this is not the first place it's been screened, but I'm wondering what is it like to see your work over 20 years later, restored, beautifully restored, with an audience?
I mean, it's been really wonderful to see it in spaces like this, and to see it so beautifully sort of like illuminated. The restoration was really very much about just sort of like a kind of looking closely at the color and looking closely at kind of like contrast, because like I remember sitting through the color timing and I didn't have a lot of changes. It was just like here and there. It's just that 16 millimeter is a very tiny format, so the ability to blow it up and make it 4K just makes everything visible, and yeah.
Okay. My next question is, I'm interested in your creative process, and I would love for you to tell us about the origins of this film project. Where did the idea for Drylongso evolve from?
Yeah, before I got the grant and was making a feature, I was tinkering around with Polaroids, and I was actually collecting Polaroids, and I was going around asking young black men if I could take their picture. And then basically the line that Pica says in the film is the line I was using to get totally random strangers to let me take their picture, which produced a lot of really interesting conversations, like from my friends, from strangers, whoever, and I was like, this could be an interesting character, like, you know what I mean, like this kind of conversation that she was in with this sort of like obsession with this idea of the endangered species, or this, which was actually like a kind of tag phrase, like a hashtag, if you will, of that time, you know. Yeah. So yeah, so from there, then once I got the grant, you know, you said $35,000, and this was in '94, and Spike Lee had just made a movie, Kevin Smith had made a movie, Robert Rodriguez was saying that his movie only cost $7,500 to make.
He said that.
And that was a lie, but I didn't know it was a lie. So I was like, wow, I can make like 3 movies. I can make 5 movies with this money, like, you know what I mean? So that I was just like, let's go.
Yeah. And I'm just wondering, you know, like there were, I think when you made this film, there might have been about 24 films directed by African American women.
Really?
Total.
I had not seen that many, but I'll take your word.
I'm going all the way back to 1922.
Oh, okay.
But,
I haven't seen those movies.
yeah, they don't exist anymore. Those early ones, we don't have evidence of them. But I mean, we know that they existed, but we don't have any. We can't see them. But what made you think you could do it?
Well, Spike Lee was bragging about it. He wrote a whole book about how he did it. And then I saw all those white guys doing it too. And their movies were not like that intricate. I was like, I mean, you know what I mean? I was like,
I remember.
You know, I was an undergraduate film student. Even though I didn't know how to do classical filmmaking, I knew how to use a camera. I figured I could do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you did. So it's interesting. In the film, Pica was saying she wants to take Polaroids because people could see them, as opposed to the 35 millimeter where you have to wait for it to develop. And I kind of want to talk about why you decided to shoot in 16 millimeter. I mean, video wasn't really that big of a thing back then. But anyway, why did you decide to shoot 16 where we couldn't watch it immediately and we had to wait for it to develop?
I mean, do you remember what video looked like in
I
1995?
do. No.
It was not, no one would be, we wouldn't be watching this film right now if I shot it on video. And, you know, 16 millimeter is a smaller format, but it's still film. So it can be blown up to 35 millimeter, which was standard at the time. And I knew how to use it, and it's like, you can control it, and it's beautiful. You can even control the contrast, and with digital video, you still really can't. You have to do all these things. You know what I mean? Like, video is still not for Black people like medium of choice as far as I'm concerned. Like for our skin tones and whatnot.
Right. So in making
video doesn't see us.
Video doesn't see us.
Fujifilm sees us really well.
Yeah, Fuji's good.
Yeah.
So in making that choice, though, so I think it's really expensive to shoot 16, right?
You know, I was thinking about it. I was like, actually, I thought that was going to be the biggest expense, but we shot really efficiently. I planned everything. We rehearsed every shot, so I wasn't just burning film the way people burn video now. Like, not at all. I was shooting maybe 3, maximum 5 rolls a day, a 400-foot film. That's very little. So I used everything. I used every single thing I shot, every single thing. There was no extra, there was no waste. That's one thing. And the other thing is that the most expensive thing when you make a film is always people. Feeding them, taking care of them, making sure they're safe, making sure they have the tools they need. That's the real expense. So that's where all the money really went. Because the film is like finite. You buy it, you process it, you know how much it's going to cost. That's the one thing you can really budget. And everything else is just like ballooning before your eyes.
Yeah, a lot of unexpected. So once the film was done, what happened with it? Where did it go? Where did it premiere?
Well, once we shot it, I went back to film school. I'd done a year of film school at UCLA, and then moved back up to Oakland to shoot it for the summer, and then went back to film school. And even though I had been told when I first matriculated that features weren't allowed, you know, at UCLA, you weren't allowed to make them as students anymore because the LA Rebellion, that generation, they kind of ruined it for everybody because they were like taking 12 years to get their MFAs, like just working on their features. So they didn't allow that anymore. They figured that out. But I thought, no, I've shot it now, so surely they'll let me edit it, because that's really where that's the hardest part, is post-production is like the biggest expense, right? So I brought all that film back down. One of my friends actually loaned me money to get it out of the lab because I didn't have the money, and she's like, well, you'll get your financial aid check in January, you can pay me then. So yeah, Jen Arnold, shout out forever, like she loaned me the money. And I started editing kind of covertly on Moviola flatbeds. And so because
On campus?
yeah, I had like 16 bins lined up. None of this is gonna make sense to any digital people at all, but yeah, it was like it started like slowly escalating where it was really clear I was doing something that wasn't student work, but I had to be in school in order to do it. There was no way. I didn't own my own editing machine. I didn't have any redub machines or all the tools that you needed to move sound to film back and forth. So the only way I could do it was if I was in school. So I just had to do my schoolwork while I was making this film. So it took 3 years to edit the picture, edit the sound, finish it, shoot the credits, all that stuff, and just use my financial aid money to get it done. Yeah.
And then it was done.
Oh yeah, and then it premiered in some film festivals, and then it went to Sundance. But because it had already played in a couple of sort of lower tier film festivals, it couldn't be in the competitive part of Sundance, which the programmers to this day remind me that I should have trusted them, and that like that, you know what I mean, like that I kind of blew this chance to launch Drylongso. I don't think it would have mattered, to be honest, but it went to Sundance nonetheless, and it went to many more festivals, won some awards and stuff like that. I was sort of like immediately kind of like entrenched in the film industry with like, you know, lawyer, manager, agent, all this stuff. And once I graduated from UCLA, that was actually a situation. But once I graduated, I was just sort of like trying to work in the film industry, and quickly figured out that I could write. So I did a lot of like ghostwriting, rewriting, book adaptations, stuff like that. And was like trying to get a job on a TV show, just trying to get work, and just couldn't get any work. Zero, nothing. And it was really confusing because all the white dudes who were also touring their films at the same time, we were all in the same kind of like circuit. Thank you. They're all like, whatever you do, if someone offers you a commercial, take it. You're like, I thought I was too good for that, but that money comes in handy. And I'm like, what commercial? Like, there were no offers for anything, like nothing. So after 5 years of doing the writing, a lot of like dead end pitches, a lot of meetings with people where I couldn't believe that they were the gatekeeper, where I was literally in a room with someone and I was like, you're practically drooling on yourself. Like, whose nephew are you? The level of nepotism was just beyond, and I was dealing with, like, to be quite frank, idiots, you know what I mean? And I was just like, I can't do another pitch with people like this. Or I would get a chance to do a real pitch and I would totally blow it because they wanted, the one pitch, I'll just tell you the story really quickly. Like, I was like, I'm pitching with friends. Like, they were like, want to give me this job, and it's a marching band movie, and which I love. And I read the script, and I was like, it's good, but man, it could be so much better. And so I work up this whole pitch. I think I had just seen Any Given Sunday by Oliver Stone. So basically, I pitched them Any Given Sunday with marching bands. And what they wanted was Bring It On with marching bands. And like, I give them this pitch, and I have all this insane like research, storyboards, everything, and they're just like, whoa. And they're like, thanks, Cauleen, that was amazing. And I realized there's no way, like, so I did something wrong. And I'm like riding the elevator down from the 20th floor, I was like, that's it, that's the last time I'm doing this. I don't even get this, and I don't get it. Like, why would anybody want me to do a comedy? Did they not see the film I made? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just like out of sync. So I'm really glad that people like Gina Prince Bythewood, she made Love and Basketball, a beautiful film. If you haven't seen it, watch it. In 2000, so a couple years out, and she was already kind of really nicely set up because she'd been working in TV, and I'm so happy to see her where she is now. It just wasn't clear that was going to be possible. Yeah. For me, it just wasn't. You know what I mean?